what it is and what's going on, and welcome to another episode of the Sports Talk Eli podcast. Great to have you guys with me for another edition of Sports Talk Eli. It's been a very, very long time, and I took a very long hiatus, but we're back. We're back to the Sports Talk Eli show, and I have a couple topics that I've been dying to talk about. Mainly the Ben Simmons situation. I think this episode is going to mainly be devoted to talking about Ben Simmons. So, let's get into it. I think we're all familiar with the story of Ben Simmons. His lackluster performance in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semifinals, which led him to demanding this trade out of Philadelphia. I don't blame him. It's hard to win in a city like Philadelphia. It's 1 minute they love you, 1 minute they hate you. Look at Allen Iverson, for example. But some of that hate, some of the love is warranted. That performance in Game 7 was abysmal. Like, he literally blew a wide open dunk. So I kind of understand where Sixer fans are coming from. I kind of understand where he's coming from requesting a trade. A new, fresh start for him probably would be the best thing for his career. And, yeah, Sixers should possibly move him. Doc Rivers even said, hey, he doesn't think that he can win a championship with Ben Simmons. Like, when Ben Simmons isn't a starting point guard who can get you an NBA championship. And that's very telling if your head coach is telling you that. Now, Ben Simmons is still one of the best young players in the game. One of the best defensive players in the game. One of the best passers and ball handlers in the league, period. He needs to go to a situation where you can tailor-make an offense for him. And I think that kind of situation for him isn't on a title contender, unless maybe you consider a situation like the Pacers, or a situation like, not quite the Celtics, but a middle-in-the-pack team in the Eastern or Western Conference. Hence why I said the Pacers. I think Ben Simmons needs to go to a place where, like I said, he can be that number one option. He can still grow and develop his game. And there's less of a thing to win. In Philadelphia, we've seen them as title contenders. He goes to a rebuilding situation. They probably will be with Ben Simmons, probably be 2 or 3 years away from an NBA championship if things are done correctly. Here are some situations that I can see Ben Simmons going to and instantly making that team better. Philadelphia would get some things in return, like they really need some shooting around Joel Embiid. They need more shooting around Joel Embiid. They'll get that in any one of these situations. Alright, sorry about that. I'm testing out the audio. You might, guys, hear a slight change in the audio. I'm trying some things out. Just ignore it. Back to bringing you guys the same quality Sports Talk Eli that you all know and love. So, Ben Simmons, like I said, needs to go to a rebuilding situation where they can tailor-make an offense around him. He needs to go to a rebuilding team. He wanted to go to 3 teams in California. You know, the ones are good. Sorry, Sacramento. The Warriors already said that, hey, we're not going to trade for you. The Warriors already got, even though the Warriors have tons of young pieces that they can send to Philadelphia, guys like James Wiseman, guys like Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody, but I don't particularly see them trying to mess with their formula. They're going to get Klay Thompson back next year. And Golden State, it sounds like more of a let's wait and see before we make a trade for a superstar. You want to see if the young players are going to pan out. You also want to see how Klay Thompson's going to come back. So I totally understand the Golden State situation. The Warriors and the Lakers are both seen as title contenders, and they probably aren't going to try to do a drastic trade to mess up what they have going on right now. So those teams are totally off the table. But the 3 rebuilding teams I have in mind are the San Antonio Spurs, Sacramento Kings, even though they've gone out and said, hey, we're not going to make that trade, but the Kings are passing up on a golden opportunity. And that's where I really hate their front office, because it's like one of the best young players in the game playing next to one of the best young point guards in the game. You get an all-star back, an established all-star back, and you got Buddy Hield, who's on a roster who doesn't want to be there. So you might as well see if you can make that trade to get Ben Simmons. For San Antonio's sake, you get one of the best young playmakers in the league. I'm not gonna say point guard anymore, because Ben Simmons' best position is at power forward. He's clearly that he's not. He can play any position on the court: point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward. And I'm still iffy on center, but he can play those 4 positions very well, I might add. I'm not sure how well he will jive with Coach Pop, but it will be very fun to see him in San Antonio, being around that structure and being around an organization that's still very classy and known for their winning. He'll be the first superstar caliber player they had since Kawhi, and I would think it would be cool to see the Spurs winning again. Like, the Spurs, like, all my years of watching basketball, I've always looked at the Spurs as a winning organization, and it's kind of weird to see them in this rebuilding phase. So getting a guy like Ben Simmons would definitely speed up their rebuild. And, the Spurs definitely have tons of young players, assets they can give up. They can give up picks. They can give guys like Derek White, DeJounte Murray, Luke Samanik, who name I can never pronounce for some reason. You want to keep a guy like Keldon Johnson. Keldon Johnson and DeJounte Murray are keeps, in my opinion. But you have Ben Simmons next to DeJounte Murray, Keldon Johnson, and automatically your rebuild gets sped up, in my opinion. And Sixers can get some young pieces and guys like Derek White or Lonnie Walker and potentially some other picks. Probably throwing Rudy Gay, send him to a title, send him to a championship contender as well. So I like the thought of the Spurs trading for Ben Simmons. I already said my piece on the Kings. I think it's foolish to not go after Ben Simmons. You pair him next to De'Aaron Fox, or you potentially do a De'Aaron Fox-Ben Simmons trade. I personally would love that. Not only do you get De'Aaron Fox in a bigger market, you get more eyes on him, and more members of the national media can realize that this entire time, there was a top 10 point guard playing on a woefully bad, terrible Kings franchise. Their heads will explode, realizing how good De'Aaron Fox is. I want to see that. And personally, Joel Embiid to De'Aaron Fox would be a fun duo, in my opinion. And for Ben Simmons, Sacramento's not known for the winning. He can work on the shooting there. You won't be pressed by the national media all the time because you're in Sacramento. No one cares. He can possibly be the guy to turn that franchise around. I would love to possibly be a guy that goes to a bad team and turn that situation around. Another team that I can potentially see Ben Simmons thriving on is the Minnesota Timberwolves. They can possibly do a Malik Beasley, possibly give up D'Angelo Russell, because they already said, hey, if you make this trade, Cat and Edwards off the table. And I think Ben Simmons playing with Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards would be really, really good for Minnesota. For the Wolves, you get a guy who's a great defender, and the Wolves were one of the worst defensive teams in the league last year. So their defense already gets a boost off the rip, strictly for having Ben Simmons. You get a guy who's been to the playoffs. You get a guy who's an all-star on this really bad Wolves team, a really young Wolves team. He can elevate that roster with his passing and his defense. He won't be asked to score because you already have Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns, who's two of the best young scorers in the league, in my opinion. So I think D'Angelo Russell would complement Joel Embiid a lot, and Malik Beasley can also complement. Like, it's a fair trade on both sides. Both teams are getting an all-star back, and Ben Simmons will elevate that Minnesota roster. All right, guys, that's all I got today. If you like this episode and you want to see more, I forgot to say this at the beginning of the video, but do it for the love, not the fix. Please, please, please leave a like. Drop some feedback in the comment section, some things that I can improve on the show-wise. We're still working out the kinks with the audio and stuff like that. Also, subscribe if you liked it. This has been the SportsTalkEli show. Out. Peace.